On the night of November 13, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in a rental house on King Road. 2.5 years later, on July 23, 2025, the man who killed them stood up in an Ada County courtroom, was asked if he had anything to say, and answered with 3 words, "I respectfully decline." Then the door closed behind him forever.
You have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
That door leads to the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, a concrete fortress in the desert outside Kuna. Double perimeter fence, razor wire, home to every man on the state's death row, and home now to Bryan Christopher Kohberger, inmate 163214. 4 consecutive life sentences, no parole. He has been there for nearly a year, and in that year a picture has emerged, from leaked video, from handwritten grievance forms, from sources inside the prison, and one very famous serial killer in Oregon who keeps writing letters about him. It is not the picture of a notorious killer holding court. It is the picture of a man slowly being broken through an air vent. This is how Bryan Kohberger is treated in prison. To understand where he ended up, you have to understand where he started. For 20 months after his arrest, Kohberger sat in the Latta County Jail, a small 37-cell facility about 1.5 miles from the house where he killed Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Zanaka Nodal, and Ethan Chapin. He arrived in a bulletproof vest and a helmet. They put him in a 4-cell wing and kept the cells around him empty. And in that wing, the legend started to build. The father of Kaylee Gonsalves stood in front of news cameras and called Kohberger's treatment, quote, "unprecedented in the history of Idaho. 5 suits, a computer, vegan meals, a tablet with a 5-cent-a-minute movie app, his own television, 1 hour outside, alone, in a dog-run cage." Inside the cell, something stranger. When the police unsealed interviews with the inmate next door, the picture was almost clinical. Kohberger washed his hands dozens of times a day. He took showers that lasted 45 minutes to an hour. He was awake almost all night and slept during the day. His own defense team in court filings confirmed he wore gloves to avoid germs and was often scrubbing his cell bathroom at 3 a.m. A relative told the New York Post his vegan habits were so intense his family had to throw out their pots and pans. He would not eat anything that had ever touched meat. The relative used the word everyone keeps using, OCD. The neighbor inmate also said he saw Kohberger snap exactly once. Kohberger was on a video call with his mother. Across the wing, someone yelled, "You suck," at a television. Kohberger pressed his face to the bars and aggressively demanded to know if the inmate was talking about him or about her. A second inmate, during a transport, called Kohberger a, quote, "fucking weirdo." And then he said something that sticks. He said Kohberger's eyes tell a story. While the inmates whispered, the women wrote letters. The Daily Mail called it a flood. Envelopes adorned with hearts and stars. One woman told news station she had been sending Kohberger about a letter a day. She called him her perfect man. Therapists pointed at the textbook word for it. Hybristophilia, the attraction some people feel towards someone who has done the unthinkable. By sentencing, Kohberger had lost weight. A body language expert called his posture frozen, his eyes manic. A defense attorney watching the broadcast said he looked like, quote, "an empty vessel filled with hate." Then he gave his 3-word speech and walked out the back of the courtroom in belly chains. The bus drove south, the desert opened up, and Bryan Kohberger entered IMSI. The Idaho Maximum Security Institution opened in 1989. In 2024, an industry publication put it on a list of the 15 worst prisons in America. The same list as Attica, as San Quentin, as Angola. Even the people inside agree. The summer before Kohberger arrived, 90 inmates went on a 6-day hunger strike. One described the recreation cages as a, quote, "biohazard, littered with human urine and feces soaked into the concrete." A few months earlier, an Aryan Nights gang member had escaped during a hospital ambush. 2 innocent Idahoans were murdered during the manhunt. This was Kohberger's new neighborhood. He spent his first 6 days in intake. Then on July 29, 2025, they walked him to his permanent home, J Block, Tier 2, long-term restrictive housing. Solitary confinement. The day after, day 2 of his life sentence, he filed his first grievance form. His cell is roughly 12 feet by 7, grey painted walls, bare concrete floor, a stainless steel toilet with no seat, a wire shelving rack, a simple checkered wool throw on the bed, 2 pairs of prison shoes lined up on the floor. We know what it looks like because somebody in August 2025 filmed him in it, and the video leaked. The footage shows Kohberger pacing, shining his shoes, methodically arranging items on the wire rack. The Idaho Department of Correction confirmed the video was real. A male corrections worker was identified. He resigned before he could be fired. There were no criminal charges because a video technically is not contraband. In the leaked footage, one detail jumps out. His hands are red, bright red, consistent, the experts noted, with a man who washes them dozens of times a day. His routine is the same every day. 23 hours in the cell, 1 hour alone in an outdoor cage, showers every other day. All movement in belly chains and leg irons. Meals slid through a slot in the door. He is housed alone. Or at least, he is supposed to be alone. Because here is the thing about J Block Tier 2. The walls are concrete, but the air vents are not. For nearly a year now, multiple outlets have converged on a single picture, with one dominant voice telling the story. A retired homicide detective named Chris McDonough, who has sources inside the facility. McDonough's description is what makes this so unsettling. He says inmates on the tier are climbing up to the air grates. They are taking turns. They are screaming at Kohberger through the vent system. They are kicking the doors. They are, quote, literally getting up into the grate and yelling at him. It is, he says, relentless. They are using psychology. They are torturing him. The Idaho Department of Correction confirmed, on the record to CBS News, that they are aware of Kohberger's complaints about what he, quote, considers taunting. They have not denied it. We know what the taunts are because Kohberger wrote them down on the grievance forms. People magazine and the Idaho Statesman obtained the forms. On July 31, 2025, Kohberger handwrote a complaint that he was not receiving all the items on his food tray. The nutritional standard, he wrote, is not being upheld unless I receive my full tray. In early August, inmates began intentionally flooding their own cells, sending water cascading down to flood his tier. Kohberger wrote another grievance, requesting an immediate transfer to B Block. He described being the subject of minute-by-minute verbal threats. A few days later, on August 4th, he documented what those threats were. According to the obtained forms, one voice in the vents allegedly shouted that he would, quote, butt f*** Kohberger. Another voice said the only thing they would be eating would be Kohberger. A corrections officer admitted, in writing, hearing vulgar sexual language directed at Kohberger, but could not identify the speaker. The complaint was, quote, substantiated. Nothing happened. On August 12th, the Housing Committee held a hearing. Kohberger had requested protective custody. They denied it. Kohberger himself, according to reporting, conceded the harassment would, quote, die down once news coverage of his murder case slowed down. It has not died down. By late 2025, the Daily Mail was reporting Kohberger had thrown what was described as a, quote, huge tantrum over the bananas being served. They were apparently not the kind he likes. The press, almost immediately, gave him a new nickname, Jailhouse Karen. But the bananas are not the worst of it. According to McDonough, Kohberger had begun writing notes to staff saying that if he is not moved off of J Block, he is going to harm himself. McDonough was careful with the language. Quote, he's not saying I'm going to myself, he's saying I'm going to myself. A former prison pastor named Keith Rovier said he had no doubt Kohberger was already contemplating. Quote, he's losing control. Most serial killers tend to be control freaks. Staff response, according to reporting, has been to keep shoelaces, pencils, and pens away from him. Now, about his neighbors. J Block is where Idaho keeps every man on death row. 8 of them, and one of them in particular you have heard of. Chad Daybell, the doomsday cult husband of Lori Vallow, sentenced to death in June 2024 for the murders of his first wife and Vallow's 2 children. He is on the same block as Kohberger. There is no evidence he is involved in any of the harassment. The other names, Thomas Eugene Creech, on death row since 1983, up to 26 murders by his own claim. Idaho tried to execute him in February 2024 and failed after the team could not find a vein in 8 attempts over an hour. Plus 6 more men, all within shouting distance of Bryan Kohberger. And according to McDonough, Kohberger is trying to make friends. The source line is sharp. Quote, "He entered that prison with the idea, I'm Bryan Kohberger, I just killed 4 people, so therefore I'm one of you. And that's not how it's playing out at all. They resent him for it." At the August housing hearing, Kohberger reportedly asked if he could one day work and share recreation. Quote, "Just like another high-profile resident on J2 does." Reporters read that as a reference to Daybell. Kohberger wants in. Daybell, as far as anyone can tell, is not interested. But there is one notorious killer who is interested. Out in Oregon sits Keith Jesperson, the happy face killer. 8 confirmed murders. Through a former prison minister, Jesperson has been publicly writing letters lobbying Idaho to ship Kohberger into Jesperson's prison. His reasoning, quote, is that Kohberger will be singled out as weak. That, quote, "Most likely Idaho will put him in protective custody like Dahmer." But we all know how that ended. Jeffrey Dahmer was beaten to death by another inmate in 1994. In late January 2026, McDonough claimed Idaho was, quote, "aggressively negotiating an interstate transfer." He said he would put $2 million on Kohberger being moved within 30 days. The Idaho Department of Correction denied it. As of today, Bryan Kohberger is still on J Block, Tier 2, cell alone. His mother and his sister were the only family members at his sentencing. There is no public confirmation anyone in his family has visited him at IMSI. In November 2025, a judge ordered Kohberger to pay roughly $3,000 for the urns of 2 of his victims, plus $32,000 more to 2 other families. His lawyers argued he had no income. The judge disagreed, noting Kohberger had received nearly enough through donations from his fans to cover the bill, and ordered him to get a prison job. The fan mail, by all accounts, still trickles in. On the other side, the families of the 4 students he killed have not exactly been quiet. The sister of Kaylee Gonsalves stood up at sentencing and told Kohberger, quote, "No one is scared of you today." Another sister said it like this, quote, "You may have received A's in high school and college, but you're going to be getting big D's in prison." The father, Steve, told TMZ in August he was, quote, "super pleased to hear what was happening on Tier 2. He has since pushed legislation to drain Kohberger's commissary account, complaining the money his fans donated should, quote, "go toward a firing squad's bullets." Idaho, as it happens, is making firing squad its primary execution method on July 1st, 2026. Kohberger is not on death row. He took the plea deal specifically to avoid it. But the man he is competing with for recreation time, Chad Daybell, is. So this is the picture. A 12x7 cell, 23 hours alone, an hour in a metal cage, red raw hands, a vent system carrying voices he cannot see, screaming things he writes down and hands to the guards. A complaint about the bananas. A serial killer in Oregon publicly campaigning to have him moved before he becomes the next Dahmer. A leaked video of him pacing, shining his shoes. A judge ordering him to pay for the urns. A fan still sending him letters. A mother who does not visit. And 4 families watching from the outside, not pretending to be sad about any of it. His former neighbor in Latta County put it best. He said Bryan Kohberger's eyes tell a story. The vents now are telling him the sequel.